Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm reading today for Cancerian energy. You feel very secretive. There are not many cards for you. If you compare this to the other readings, it's probably immediately you'll be able to see the timestamp I assume is going to be a lot shorter. We'll see how it plays out. Whereas, for example, Gemini had so many cards. I did a card reading for myself last night and it took 2 layers of cards. It kind of would have gone off the table, so I had to kind of layer them on top of each other. The cards are not talking for you, Cancer. They are. They're saying a lot without... It could be a situation where someone's saying a lot, but they're doing it very succinctly. Like it does not take a lot of words to get the point across. Or you're just being very private and kind of letting the situation speak for itself. Something like that. You are showing up in your own reading quite strongly. The first kind of things, I'll just tell you what I've got so far. I'm going to pull a few cards on camera, so we may get some more information. We'll see how it goes. The first kind of thing that I was getting for you was a very witchy energy. And then I was getting references to witches. So I'm not saying that you're a witch, like, you know, you're an evil, you know, crone who rides a broomstick. I mean, I don't know, maybe you're doing a late Halloween party or something. I don't know. It feels more like that kind of high priestessy, like old beliefs, old magic, kind of, maybe, you know, sort of pagan in a way where it's kind of the ways the land used to be. You know, it feels very, you know, like folklore and like the kind of old magic that would be herbs and remedies and old wives' tales and, you know, like that sort of thing. It feels, you know, if you stood there over a cauldron, you're probably making some kind of great healing soup that's, you know, gonna revive the senses. And it's that kind of thing. It's like a little sprinkle of something, a little sprinkle of magic. Yeah, you could have really strong manifestation powers at the moment. That kind of thing of like what you think about, you bring about. You could be thinking about someone in particular. You could be spending a lot of time in the dream space or in fantasy. You could be having very, very vivid dreams at this time. You could be dreaming about... I had a dream last night that was kind of a bit like the way that culture perceives women, sort of, especially kind of like older men. So I had this strange dream where I was in a park or something, and I was kind of sat to one side, you know, I kind of pulled away to get some kind of privacy, and I'd needed to take my shoe off or something. I had like my foot out, and this old man came over to me, and he was kind of like sort of disapproving of me having my foot out, but also being kind of a little bit inappropriately interested, you know, like turned on by me having my foot out. A bit like Victorian times when a lady showed her ankle, you know, and I was just kind of like, I'm just getting a stone out of my shoe, like, but it was almost like something about, and I'm not saying this about all older guys, right? There's plenty of older guys who are lovely, but you know, a particular subsection of society where, you know, the media they're watching, you know, when like people soundboard, it's kind of like they're stuck in their own little bubble. So sometimes you find this about older people. They'll kind of religiously watch a certain news channel or read a certain newspaper, you know, every single day, and it's like they've been drip fed a certain mentality, and maybe it's a bit out of touch with what's going on in the day-to-day reality, but you know, they've got this kind of like fixed mindset and they're very sure that they're right. And again, it can be very kind of disapproving of others. So yeah, there was something in the dream about that. It was almost like in this moment I could kind of see that there was 2 older men. There was the one that approached me and there was one that was kind of on a bench near me, and they both had this kind of disapproving but also interested, and also the idea of like there was something about them approaching me and talking to me about my feet that felt very inappropriate. It's like, well, it's not appropriate for you to comment on my feet, you know, the like mind your own business kind of thing. There was some subtext, sub layers of that dream. There was also something about you know, people judging other people for the way they raise their kids, you know, and kind of, but also it came through with the royal family. So Prince William and Princess Catherine, and their children, and they were kind of like walking through an area, and for some reason I was kind of with them. I was kind of like a nanny or something like that in this dream, and the kids were kind of like running ahead a little bit, and obviously this was a bit of trouble for the security team, and there was some kind of judgment of kind of like, oh, they should, you know, they shouldn't be running around, they should be doing this, they should be doing that, and it's like the kids. So yeah, there could definitely be something about, like, it was something to do with like feeling like you've got the right to judge other parents for how they raise their children, and like judging children as well for the behavior. It's like they're children, right? Like, yeah, what you like, don't judge children for the behavior. They're children. They behave the way that children are going to behave, which is, you know, if a child is like super well behaved, that's a bit of a red flag for me. It's like, are they scared of misbehaving? Like, what's going on there? You know, and you do get sort of, some children naturally follow the rules a little bit more than other children. Some children are naturally more rebellious for various reasons, but you know, kids be kids. And yeah, at the same time, you know, I used to work in a school, and you've got to have rules, and you've got to have. I think the point that I'm making is you do have to. The reason children are defined as children in law is because they need parental supervision. You know, they need adults to kind of like make sure they're not doing something stupid, because their brains aren't developed enough in terms of, you know, health, hazard and safety awareness. They can't judge distance and speed, for example, until they kind of like get out of the teenage years. That kind of develops during the teenage years. So the reason why children are defined as children is because they don't have the best reasoning skills, you know, and they are stupid sometimes. And so you need the adult there to kind of like supervise and just make sure that things aren't getting too out of hand, you know, and keep them kind of roughly safe and in line. But at the same time, you know, you could go the other way and have someone who's super strict and authoritative, and, you know, rob the child of the childhood, because, you know, they expect them to be like little adults, and, you know, that's not right either. So having a balance in that. But like I say, this dream, it was coming through with a message of, you know, the ickiness of other people judging the way people choose to raise their children and things like this, and, you know, being very judgmental, and also something about the right to intrude as well. So for example, I'm talking about the royal family from this dream. You know, it's almost like press intrusion. It's like the press think that they have a right to know everything about their lives, and especially like their children's lives, like these children who just happen to have been born into a certain family. You know, they didn't ask to be royals. And yet, you know, you can look at the press intrusion around when Princess Diana died, and, you know, people are trying to take photos of these two young boys who've just lost the mother, and how difficult and upsetting that must have been. So again, I don't know them personally. I'm just talking about, you know, stories I've heard and things like that. I don't know the ins and outs, but sorry, just dropped my notepad. In this dream, it did have that kind of icky feeling of kind of like, let them raise the kids the way they want to raise the kids, and don't be so judgy. You know, kids grow through phases, you know, they grow out of them. It's not like a child is gonna grow up to be a terrible person just because they have one tantrum, you know. So yeah, let's move on from that. So yeah, this kind of witchy energy, going back to that, I keep on seeing references to witches. Season of the Witch came on my Spotify by Lana Del Rey. Must be the Season of the Witch. You've got to pick up every stitch. Maybe someone's doing some cross stitching or knitting or something like that. Witchdoctor by I don't even remember the name of the band. It's like a 90s song. It was, I told the witch doctor I was in love with you. And the witch doctor, they told me what to do. They said, ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang. It's one of those really annoying songs. It's kind of like fun but annoying. So maybe there's something about like a song that your kid keeps on playing over and over again, and you're like, you know, like a baby shark situation. You're like, oh my God, if I hear that song one more time, I'm going to go insane. But yeah, this idea of like the witch, I was kind of getting this idea of kind of like someone doing like love spells, or you know, like love magic, sex magic even. or trying to manifest a certain person. You had that song by Katy Perry as well that was like tucked. I keep you tucked away inside my head where I can find you anytime I want you, baby. It could be something where, you know, someone's trying to manifest somebody through thinking about them. It's like if I dream about them, if I think about them, if I imagine myself with them, then I'm going to manifest that reality. It could be something like that, or just liking someone, I don't know. Also, like I say, I keep getting these witch references. As I turned on Spotify at the start of the reading to kind of find some music to meditate to, a podcast came up and it was called Witch by BBC. Now, I have listened to this. I was listening to it kind of before Christmas, and I do recommend it. I'll kind of try and remember to put it up on my community page or in the description box down below. Definitely worth a listen. It's about the history of witchcraft, you know, going into kind of like the witch trials and things like this, but it also talks to kind of like modern day people who consider themselves to be witches and kind of like, you know, what they do. And so it's just a discussion topic about all these different aspects, and it has been quite interesting. I've listened to a couple of episodes. So yeah, maybe have a listen to that. Do be careful if you're doing anything if you consider yourself a witch, if you're doing anything that could be considered spells, manifestation, magic, that sort of thing. Just be very, very careful that you are manifesting or doing spells from a good place. I don't consider myself to be a witch, but my kind of rule for manifesting and things like this is you don't mess with the autonomy of others. So, you know, if you're interested in someone, if you want to, you know, maybe consider getting with that person, maybe get closer to that certain person. It could be a friend, it could be a lover, it could be a job that you want. Ask for things that bring you closer to them in a way that's like, you know, manifest spending time with them, manifest going on a trip with them, manifest you know, having a reason to have a conversation. But don't do something where it's kind of like, this person's going to fall in love with me, they're going to be mad for me, they're going to be obsessed with me, because you're taking away their autonomy and their choice. And so even if they do fall in love with you, you're always going to be asking, are they really in love with me, or is this the spell? Like, and that's not good for your confidence, you know, it's not good for I just think that things like that can really backfire, and I don't think they lead to happiness, and I think it's bad karma to mess with other people's autonomy. So again, you know, you're interested in someone, you want to get close to them, manifest a phone call, you know, manifest you know, if you work with this person, you on the same project, you know, and you might actually spend time with them and think this person's a massive dick. I do not want to. I'm so glad that I didn't manifest that spell to make them obsessed with me, because I would have been stuck with them, you know. So just that sort of thing. Again, Witchdoctor, sometimes it comes through this idea of like someone went to, you know, someone went to a witch, someone asked someone to do a spell for them, which again, very, very dangerous territory, if you ask me. It's not something that I would personally mess with. I also had the song I Can Fly by Lana Del Rey really stuck in my head. I kind of woke up from these strange dreams that I've been having, and I had a variety of different dreams. And I was kind of like, I was underground. It was like I'd kind of like fallen underground, and I was trying to kind of get back up again. And this song was on. It was like, I can fly. It's like I can just fly up there. So I had a dream that I was fine. I wasn't crazy. I was divine. So make it that what you will, but those lines were kind of stuck in my head. You had the song, this wasn't an intuitive song, this played on Spotify. How Can I Make It Okay by Wolf Alice, where she says, I just want you to be happy. So again, you could just be, you know, you could love someone or care deeply for someone, and you're just trying to make them happy, right? You're trying to do things for them. You're trying to manifest on their behalf. You just want this, you care about this person. You just want them to be happy. Yeah. There could be something as well about, it's a little bit Piscean. I do find this to be a little bit of a thing with water signs and water sign placements. So just watch out for this if you've got strong water in your chart or certain placements. Watch out for the need to be the hero or the need to be the caregiver. Also look at Virgo placements for this. The need to save the damsel in distress, right? It's kind of like the need to be needed. Sometimes water sign placements can get themselves into very codependent situations because they want that other person to be reliant on them, like the need to be needed, and Virgos as well. The need to be needed, the need to be to play the caregiver, they need to help someone or fix someone or save someone. So it can actually cause these situations where you're kind of enabling the other person, and somebody could be doing this to you as well. You know, we in relationships with a lot of different people. Some are high vibrational, some are low vibrational. So yeah, watch out for codependency and the creation of codependency through like overly caring for people's needs. It's kind of like making people dependent on you because you like the feeling of helping people. And again, it comes from a really good place. It doesn't come from a place of like, unless you've got Scorpio placements, because they can be a little bit like this, depending on the placements, depending on the full chart, depending on whether they're high vibrational, low vibrational. The idea of kind of like, I'm going to make this person dependent on me so that they, you know, it's like an intentional thing sometimes. Most of the time it does come from a place of, I want this person to be happy, I want to care for this person, I want to keep them close, but it unconsciously a lot of the time turns into this kind of enabling codependent situation. So again, it's not good for people, especially your children. You've got stuff about children here. So again, this idea of kind of if you're a parent and if you're raising children, you really want to try and give them the tools to look after themselves. You know, what happens if you're not around? Do they have the problem solving skills? Are they able to, you know, figure things out for themselves? Are they able to, and maybe they're not, maybe you've got a child who has learning difficulties or disabilities, and, you know, they don't have those skills, and, you know, it's a difficult thing for them to find for themselves. But even then you can kind of say, okay, who do you ask for help if I'm not around? You know, a teacher, a police officer. You know, if you get lost, what do you do? Oh, I go to a shop, I go to the till, and I ask them to call the town security, the police, whoever. You know, it's like, make sure they know what to do if you're not around and they need to help themselves. And yeah, just make sure you kind of enable little steps towards independence. And again, this could be talking about your own childhood. The reason why I'm saying this is because you've got something going on here. I'll show you these cards. The root girl, the king of earth, and the child. Look at this kind of like tree imagery. These are different decks, by the way. And this is the underlying. They're just, it's crazy how similar they are. They came out kind of like, I put the decks down and these two were next to each other. So it does look like father and child, right? Somebody who feels a little bit disowned. Could be that somebody's, like, it says the disowned self. So it's almost like... taking yourself away from a situation, perhaps because of what we have over here, which I'll talk about in a while. But again, the child. So, okay. The other thing that I was kind of getting for you was kind of like cliffhanger. And this kind of like, will they, won't they? You know, so like sometimes if you're watching like a sitcom or like a soap opera or something, you know, the episode will leave on a cliffhanger, and it keeps you hooked. It keeps you wanting to come back for more. So yeah, there could be something about something ended on a cliffhanger and you being like, are they going to do the thing? Are they not going to do the thing? Are they going to get together? Are they not going to get together? Sort of a Ross and Rachel or Mulder and Scully type situation. I was kind of getting The Witcher as well. Somebody could be watching The Witcher or really like that TV show just because the word witch kept on coming through. Yeah, something could be a slow burn. Going back to cliffhanger, you are getting something about mountains coming through. Now, this came through in meditation, and when I lifted this child card up just now, I did see that the holy mountain's under there. Maybe somebody's like abseiling or rock climbing or, I don't know, hiking up a mountain. Because in meditation, when I kind of went into meditation for you at the start of the reading before pulling any cards, I kind of felt like I was in a really snowy, like a snowy spruce forest. So just to give you some context, Cancer, if you've not seen any of the other readings, this set of readings has a bit of a fantasy theme. I've been watching and playing a little bit of D&D. It's kind of quite new to me, but I'm really invested in it. And so I've got this whole like fantasy realm that I've kind of been creating, just in case I do decide to kind of like like host games and things like this. So in this realm, in yesterday's reading, in Gemini's reading, I was talking about the Riverlands, which is kind of at the base of a mountain, very wet, kind of marshy land, lots of rivers, lots of twisting willow trees and laurel trees. And it is a place of, it's kind of like where the nymphs and the fae live, right? So there's something a bit magical about it. There's also something about this area to do with myths about men taking advantage of women, and then women banding together, and finding companionship, and not needing the kind of lower vibrational men. Again, not all men are bad. Not all men is kind of like the meme. But these certain characters have had experiences where they feel safer in the company of women than they do with men who they've found to be quite predatory or controlling or whatever. And so if we wander through this forest a little bit towards the mountain, we find the trees change from like laurel trees and willow trees into spruce trees and pine trees and kind of Christmas tree looking trees. And we start to go up these rocky slopes, maybe following a river up to its source. And as we climb the mountain, it gets colder and colder, and the terrain gets a little bit rougher, and it starts to get a bit slippy and icy and snowy. And you start to pull your cloak closer and you pull your hood up as you kind of attempt these snowy peaks, but the terrain gets really, really difficult. This is kind of what I was experiencing in meditation for you. So yeah, the terrain gets quite difficult, and maybe you're trying to track something as well, because I was kind of seeing like footprints in the snow. That feeling of like when you put your foot down in the snow and it's quite thick and it's like fresh snow and it crunches under your foot, like how satisfying that is. But like that crunch sound as you walk, but it's kind of like seeing the footprints or seeing the tracks that something's made. And then also broken twigs as well, like so I had this feeling of like tracking something or tracking someone, or just noticing that something else had been around. And then I had this feeling of the mountain. Again, you do have this mountain card underneath the child card. This feeling of kind of the peak of the mountain, kind of right, this very icy, inhospitable, formidable peak of the mountain kind of rising up in front of me or above me. I'm feeling like this was insurmountable. This was not something that I was going to be able to this was not a journey where I was going to be successful. I was never going to make it to the peak, this deep knowing, because I was not even halfway up, and the weather and the environment and the terrain was so difficult already, like unbearably difficult, like so cold and so when your skin starts to feel chapped and your legs are tired from the trudging through this thick snow. So you just knew, right, that there was no way you were going to get to the top of this mountain. So where do I want to go from here? Maybe acceptance of something. Maybe there is a feeling of, there was something that was an uphill struggle. There was a mountain that I wanted to climb. And I know that this is impossible. Excuse me, so sorry. I know this is impossible for me. I know this is a battle I'm going to lose, kind of thing. It's just so challenging. It's so and it doesn't have to be a mountain, right? The mountain is symbolic for a problem that you have in your life, or something that you're trying to do, something that you're trying to achieve. And it just feels like it's impossible, like it's completely, whatever this challenge is, it's completely insurmountable, and feeling quite, maybe a sense of acceptance with that, maybe it's something about not knowing your place, because that doesn't sound very, I don't like the way that sounds, but something about kind of like, home is where the heart is, perhaps. That's kind of coming through, like knowing where your place is, in terms of knowing where you feel comfortable, knowing what is within your limits and what is out of what's overwhelming for you. Where is your where are the edges of your safe zone? You know, what can you explore, and where do you feel at home, and where do you feel safe, and where do you feel kind of very much not just out of your comfort zone, but this is completely impossible territory for me. So all these kind of things coming through for you with this. Excuse me. Why you're doing this journey in the first place, I don't know. Maybe it is on behalf of others, because I had this feeling for you in the meditation of kind of like maybe like leaving friends behind. Like you've come from the lower, maybe the riverlands, or you know, the more easier terrain of the kind of lower levels of this kind of spruce forest. And so if I move over to that, it's funny because I was kind of getting this in meditation, right? This was all stuff that I was just seeing without pulling any cards in meditation. The very first card I saw, before I show you the first card I saw, let me tell you a bit more about this kind of spruce forest that I found myself in when I kind of tapped into the meditation for your reading. So the spruce forest itself, we're kind of out of the Riverlands a little bit, but this is kind of the realm of, if you know the myths around Artemis, and you know, she's a hunter goddess, and she has wolves. She's associated with wolves, and she's associated with the moon, which is you know, you're ruled by the moon. This is your planet and it is here. Again, I hadn't pulled any cards at this point. The moon came out for you after all this. What else as well about her? So there's this myth that I love about Artemis where she encounters Actaeon. I'm bad at pronouncing the names. I do have a degree in it and I can't pronounce any of the names. Actaeon is a hunter. He's kind of with his hunting party. He's got all his dogs, his hunting dogs, and he strays into the woodland that Artemis resides in, and accidentally stumbles upon her as she's naked and bathing in a natural pool in this woodland. And so he lays eyes on the vulnerable goddess, and she sees him and she does not like this, and so she curses him and turns him into a stag. And this stag is ripped apart by his own dogs, especially traumatic if you read Ovid's very, very visceral version of this myth. Yeah, there's a kind of a karma there for Akataeon, where you know he's done this to perhaps the animals in Artemis's territory, you know, her woodland creatures. He's been hunting them, and so with his dogs, and so to have the tables turned on him like that is perhaps his karma. Saturn's here. Saturn is a planet of karma. It rules Capricorn. We're in Capricorn season at the moment, so I do feel like there's a lot of karma in the air. A lot of people are running into the karma that they've generated, either good or bad. Again, karma is a very interesting word that if you want to go and explore the history and the meaning of that word, absolutely do so. The way I'm using it right now in this reading is just kind of like you reap what you sow, you get what you give, you know, what you put out comes back at you. So, and again, I do believe that's how spells and manifestation work, you know. If you think of Charmed, it comes back at you times 3, right? So yeah, Saturn being here, it's very much about yeah, learning hard lessons perhaps. And so like I say, we're in this realm which has all this symbolism of you know, if you look at Artemis, she has a kind of like her companions, her own hunting party. She lives in the woods with them, and a lot of the time the kind of women who have been either ostracized from society, or they've ostracized themselves from society. You know, they've had difficult encounters a lot of the time with men. Artemis is the virgin goddess, and so she offers them companionship and safety, you know, as part of her tribe of hunter women out in the woods. Fascinating goddess. And so with all this in mind, maybe there is something about Iphigenia, perhaps. I'll kind of come back to that in a minute. The very first card that I saw when I started to shuffle and pull cards for you, and it's on the underlying of this deck. It was the first deck I shuffled, very first card I saw before I even saw. This card was the card that fell out, but this is the first card I laid eyes on. And it's exactly what I was seeing in my manifestation, right? Look at the trees, We've got the moon, we've got the wolf, which is symbolic of Artemis, moonlight enchantment, magic, exactly what I was getting in meditation, and it was right here, the first card that I saw. You're going to have to take my word on that. The next deck that I shuffled, I kind of want to have a peek at what's underneath that. Meandering pathway and flow. It's like you're making your way through. And I look at the beautiful images, and then manifesting, what did I say? Manifesting dreams and joy. I just want you to be happy. Yeah, amazing. Water spirit, like exactly what I said, right? First deck, and it's saying what I saw. Maybe there's something about that. Maybe you need to say what you saw. Maybe you need to speak about something you saw in a dream, or speak about an experience you had, something you saw perhaps when you were in some kind of woodland. But like I say, so moonlight enchantment magic, exactly what I was seeing. The next deck that I shuffled, you did not, one card came out of this deck, and it was this one here, owl magic, owl spirit and wisdom. One card came out of that deck. And so I shuffled the next deck, nothing. And look at how big this deck is. It's like 4 decks combined. Nothing came out of it. I shuffled it 3 times, no cards came out. And I thought, oh, great. Well, actually, at this point, I thought, oh, my guides just don't want this deck. Sometimes that happens where no cards come out of a deck. I'm like, okay, my guides don't want anything from this deck today. But I flipped it over and look. Dog, companionship. Look at this. The dog, the wolf, the hunter. Look, he's got a bow and arrow there. Fear and hyena, passion and the soul. Guys, it's what he was seeing, right? And then the next 2 cards that came out were the Root Girl and the King of Earth. I'm going to put dog and companionship away for a second. Actually, do you know what? Let's bring it over with this kind of transformation that's taking place. The story of Akatean being turned into a stag, right? And being hunted by his own dogs. It's here. Look, he's kind of got these antlers growing. And we also have, alongside that, like, King of Earth and the Root Girl. Now, I was talking about how Artemis offers protection to girls who have been in situations where they've had really bad encounters with the men in their lives. If you look at the myth of Iphigenia, IPH, if I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, she's the daughter of Agamemnon, which is, you know, a very famous king. If you know anything about kind of the Odyssey, the Iliad, probably heard of Agamemnon. He's the kind of king of kings, right? The Basilii of the Basiliuses. I can't pluralize Greek. Yeah, he was willing to sacrifice his own daughter to be able to get his men back on these ships to be able to go to war. He was literally going to sacrifice her. And so at the last second, Artemis takes pity on Iphigenia, and different myths have different versions, but the myth that I like is that she, in a kind of puff of smoke and magic, she takes Iphigenia to be her companion and replaces her with a deer, a fawn, or a stag. Yeah, this kind of Iphigenia, the child of Agamemnon, feeling disowned and abandoned and finding companionship and perhaps grace and generosity and benefactors with this group of women. If you're on the cusp with Gemini, you might also be interested in Gemini's reading. They have this thing about like feeling abandoned by a man and the friends helping them out. Yeah, I really sorry, just ignore my kind of scruffy hoodie there. It's very cold in my house today, and yes, I am a bit scruffy today. Yeah, there's also 6 of Pentacles. Could be something about making things fair financially, some kind of payout, or the writing of finances, the writing of money, the balancing out of responsibilities. It's under the King of Earth, which again could be some kind of husband or father figure. Underneath him is the world and the Ten of Fire. Looks like something's ending with this situation. The King of Earth, the world, and the Ten of Fire. These both talk about things wrapping up, things coming to an end, being able to put down your responsibilities or come back home. 5 of Water underneath there. There could be some sort of grief or feeling of disappointment in a situation. It is talking about crying over spilt milk. Cups have been spilt over. You're not quite seeing you're only kind of seeing the ending at this point. You're not seeing the what happens after the ending. Okay, all that coming through already. And like I say, cards, we're not talking out of 6 decks. No, more than 6 decks, because I've got 4 decks there. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 decks there, I think. Only 5 cards came out. And like I say, Gemini's has so many cards that were off the table. My reading last night, so many cards that were off the table. Your cards are very secretive. So I wasn't surprised at this point when I shuffled this deck and I had the moon, because the moon is your ruling planet and it is a secretive energy. Saturn, like I say, it is the tough love father. I'm associating it with that King of Earth. Saturn is an energy. I was kind of getting this 9 of Wands energy, because in the vision, in the meditation, just this feeling of trying to, and I had a wolf with me as well, which I didn't mention before. I did have a wolf at my side. So it could be sort of like walking up a mountain with a dog, things get a bit cold, something like that. Yeah, but this trudging through the snow, and the wind being so bitter, and kind of like, when the wind kind of pushes you back and legs are aching, and it was so cold and so difficult in that terrain. I did have the feeling of kind of like the 9 of Wands. Now, the 9 of Wands in the tarot is perseverance, not giving up, right? Battling through something. And normally it's something that's like ongoing. It's normally a long time. So the 9 of Wands can talk about battling an illness for a long time, or being in a situation where there's a lot of responsibilities and burdens, and it's draining you and it's tiring, but not giving up. So I had those kind of feelings. But like with the 10 of Wands there, which I only just saw kind of at the same time as you, that does tell me that there's an end to this. There is a finish line to cross, or there is perhaps a situation that's being walked away from, lessons learned in that situation, I want to say. Mars as well here. Mars is, again, another very aggressive masculine energy. It's kind of King of Wands. Mars is about, he's the god of war, very fiery, very passionate, very aggressive. Yes, to me. Now, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, guys. I have had stomach flu. I'm kind of over it, but I couldn't eat for about 3 days. I just ate dry Jacob's crackers and grapes for like 3 days. And so, when you've not been eating and you start eating again, your digestion does some funny things. So I am sorry. I am feeling a lot better, but I had breakfast before I started the reading, and now my tummy's like, whoa, food, whoa, gotta talk about this. So sorry if you're hearing those noises. Okay. So, yeah, these could all be indicating you could be represented by the moon. Saturn could be some kind of father-like figure, or a masculine energy that's very tough love. You reap what you sow kind of thing. You get what you put in. Mars, again, could be a very fiery, maybe slightly aggressive, domineering man around you. It could all be aspects of the self. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this. I'm just going to kind of briefly talk about it for those of you who just think, oh, I'm a Cancerian sun sign, I'm a Cancerian star sign. That's all you know. And I'm not kind of like making fun or judging you or anything like that. We all come through certain doors, right? And most people are like, oh yeah, what's my star sign? My star sign's, I'm a Libra, right? So and then you look more into it and you're like, oh, there's more to it than that. So there's more to it than that. We have a birth chart. We have basically, when you're born, you have a birth chart, and it talks about where the planets are in the sky and which houses that each planet is in when you're born. So it's much, much more complicated than just your sun sign. This is why you could meet 10 different Aries, right? And every single one of those Aries, they're not going to have the exact same personality. They're going to have different personalities, different things that motivate them, different things that inspire them, different ways of talking, because each of those factors is ruled by different planets and the position in the chart when this person was individually born, and where they were born as well, where in the world. So there is in the description box down below, there is a link to Cafe Astrology, which is a free birth chart calculator. Don't worry too much if you don't know the time you were born. That's more for horoscopes. You can get a lot of information even if you don't know what time you were born at. Just put in like roughly the place that you were born, date of birth, all that sort of thing, if you know it. And that's going to give you the planetary placements, which tells you a lot about your inherent personality, what motivates you, what drives you, how you go through life, what your conversations are like with people, this sort of thing. It's quite complicated. A lot of rub up against each other. You know, one placement will say one thing, another will say the opposite. But that's because we're complex people, right? A lot of the time we do have these complexities and kind of you can be like, yeah, I'm like that sometimes, but in other situations I'm like this, and that's why, right? Because we have these conflicts in our birth chart. Anyway, your Mars placement rules anger. You know, what makes you angry and what do you do when you get angry? How do you channel your anger? So for example, I've got a Sagittarius Mars placement. My eldest child has a Mars Sagittarius placement. We're very similar in kind of like what angers us, and when we get angry, we have this need to burn off energy, right? It's kind of, it comes through as physical, because Sagittarius is a fire sign. Fire signs tend to be a bit more physical, as do earth signs. So when I get angry, I Sagittarius like to be outside. They like to escape. They like freedom. Um, it's this energy of kind of like, I need to go for a walk. We're both exactly the same. It's like, I'm angry, I need to walk this off. And so like to be stuck in a house with the person you're angry with is really difficult from our Sagittarius placements. Yeah, and it also rules kind of motivation, because of course you can channel that kind of fiery energy into fuel to get things done. Or so a lot of the time I'm the sort of person, I will clean if I'm angry. So if I can't go out for a walk, I might start cleaning and banging cupboards around, because it's kind of like I'm channeling it into something else. I'm channeling it into something physical. So yeah, your Mars placement can tell you a lot about yeah, what you like. If for example you've got a Mars Cancer placement, if you're Cancerian Mars, you could be a little bit crabby. Mars Cancerian placement is a bit like attack is the best form of defense. So sometimes, if you feel like you're on the back foot, if you feel like somebody's criticizing you or coming at you in some sort of way, you'll attack them first, or you'll throw something back at them. So it's kind of like, oh, that's not my fault, you did this. That can be a little bit Mars Cancerian placement. Yeah, these sort of things. So also kind of defensive. Crabs have that hard shell, so sometimes you can kind of really put your walls up and be quite defensive in situations if you're feeling a little bit attacked. Your moon placement, I feel like moon placement is what you like behind closed doors. So when we talk about star signs, we're actually talking about our sun sign placement, where the sun was in our chart when we were born. Our sun sign placement is kind of like surface level. It's first impressions. When you meet somebody, they might think you're a typical whatever your sun sign is. It's kind of like people who don't know you very well, people who know you on a surface level will think of you like that. Your moon sign is what you're like behind closed doors, your secret self, the self that you keep hidden and you don't show that many people. So when people really get to know you, they'll find you maybe a little bit more like your moon sign. So for example, I've got a Gemini moon, very scatty. Okay. If you think I'm a bit all over the place when you first meet me, I'm worse when you get me behind closed doors. An over analytical, like my brain does not shut up, because Gemini has that always thinking, always talking, always investigating energy. Your Saturn placement, this can talk about work. It can talk about the work you do, where you'll be successful, what brings you success when you put in the effort as well. So Cancerian Saturn placements might be, they might find success when they put a lot of effort into their family, their home life, but Saturn's a bit of a slower moving planet. It doesn't affect you on a kind of daily basis. It's more of like I say, slow burn energy. I don't know, maybe you want to check out those placements. It's also planets. So it's interesting you've got 3 planets because, like I say, in that meditation, I felt like I was trying to get to the peak of the mountain. Now, at the peak of this specific mountain in my kind of fantasy realm that I've been coming up with, the kind of community that lives there are very interested in astrology and, mapping the planets, mapping the stars, and they have a lot of kind of like scientific instruments and what's that word? Like, what is it, like astrolabes and telescopes and what is it, like they're showing me the one that's in like California. It's like up a hill. I only know it from like GTA. But it's like observatory, an observatory, that's the word. I got there eventually. I should know. I'm near I live in Manchester in the UK. So I'm quite close to Jodrell Bank, which is a big, massive telescope. It's quite a famous one. So anyway, moving swiftly on from that. Yeah, there could be something about the reason why you're trying to get to this place is because because it will help you look at the planets, or because it carries that kind of like I call it Starman energy. Like it's a place where you can access the Starman energy. Let's keep going. At this point, I want to get you some identifiers. Again, maybe just to give you a heads up if this is your reading or not. I assume you know by now. I mean, assume people who are like, what is she talking about, will have just left. So those of you who are still sticking around, hi. Thanks for making it this far in the video. Let's see what they have for you. I'm hearing 4. So these could be like initials. It could spell out a word. Whatever springs to mind for you, roll with that. Oh gosh, it looks like bluff. I'm going to put those back in, but it's looking to me like bluff. I bluff. So LBF, if any of those mean anything. Maybe we'll take those. IBF, LR. You told me 4 and now you're spitting. BF, boyfriend, best friend. You tell me 4 and then you fling them at me. IR. It's like farmer language. IR. N. I'm getting intern. Like a medical intern. Can rearrange the letters, you can read it forwards, you can read it backwards, it might be initials. If it means something to you, roll with it. If it doesn't mean anything to you, maybe just note down the letters. Something might spring to mind in the next couple of days. This reading is kind of for the first part of 2024, so January, February, March, maybe 4 months. Erna. If it sounds like a name as well, like Aunt Erna. I think Irma's a name, isn't it? Let's get you. I'm hearing 2, just 2 for you today. And now I'm hearing 6. Do you want 2 or 6? 2. Okay. I saw the word 2. There could be something about like multiples. Like the 6 times table, the 3 times table. Like 2 3s are 6. 2 6s are 12. Diamond. I'm hearing a Billie Eilish song. Does it mention the word diamond? It's that one that starts Eilish. Eilish. I always say a name wrong. It's that one that's like, Is it the one that's like, you left her lonely with the diamond mind and those ocean eyes? Ocean Eyes by Billie Eilish. Eilish. Fuck. Sorry for the swear. I'm scared. You really know how to make me cry when you give me those ocean eyes. Diamond near? Diamond near, diamond far. I don't know. I don't know why that popped into my head, but it could mean something to somebody. I'm just writing ocean eyes. Those ocean eyes. That's one of your songs because it came through. It came through. Why have I lost the ability to speak? Maybe that's something. Maybe that is something about this reading. The silence, not being able to speak. Okay. Gonna get you some cards on camera. I've got some Dungeons and Dragons card sets. This is the Dungeons and Dragons Tarot that my kid got me for Christmas. So having a go with this. See what we get for you, Cancer. Oh, 1, 2, 3. On the underlying, we've got the 9 of Charisma. The 9 of Riz. That was like a fun little scene. I'll just show you that. You can make of that what you will. Yo ho ho, pirate's life for me. This is the one that lay face up, the 10 of Strength. It's this king. He's got all these goblins. Are they goblins? I'm gonna call them goblins. Goblin King, David Bowie, that you. 10 of Strength. He's got a sword. I would read the 10 of Strength as like the 10 of Wands, which you had here underneath the King of Fire. King of Fire, King of Fire, Strength, Wands. It seems like a similar energy. 6 of Wisdom in reverse. It's kind of like never-ending story. It's kind of like reading the book and like having a lived experience through your imagination. That'd be the 6 of Wands. So that talks about success, but it did come out in the reverse. And the Devil. Capricorn energy. It's reminding me of what's that cartoon called? It's like a webtoon. It's on YouTube, not a webtoon. Hell of a Boss. It's called Haluva. It's spelled Haluva Boss, but it's pronounced Hell of a Boss. It reminds me of the guy from that. Kind of offering this cup. 10 of Strength, 6 of Wisdom, the Devil. Let's have a quick read. Feels like everybody's ignoring each other. It's like the devil's offering this cup to this kid, but he's not even aware, he's not even paying attention because he's too busy reading his book. And then this other guy over here is kind of ignoring kid as well. It kind of reminds me of the Labyrinth there. You know, like I mentioned the Goblin King and like he's reading the book. You know, like how the little girl, yeah, Never Ending Story or the Labyrinth, like they're reading the book, aren't they? And it's kind of like, is it all in the head or did this really happen? It's like the kids reading a book and, you know, these guys are kind of waiting. You know, like when they're like, is she gonna say it? Did she say the word? You know, like all the goblins in Labyrinth are kind of like waiting to take Toby and they're kind of like hidden in the wardrobe. It's like, did she say it? And it's like they're waiting in the wings to come and make this offer. They're just waiting for them to say like the right words. That's creepy. I'm just looking it up in the book, what the book says about these things. 10 of Strength. Make sure to speak up. This is the thing. You're not taught speaking up, or you really quiet or reluctant to say something. Make sure to speak up. Don't try to do it all. Delegate responsibility when you can and express yourself. 6 of Wisdom. Our ability to become a child and play in the world, a return to innocence. And then the Devil. I mean, you have to be careful because the devil takes advantage of people's naivety. You know, you have to know the devil to see the red flags, right? You need to see the devil to see you have to know the devil to see the tricks. You know, the devil will see someone or something who's innocent and be like, haha, gonna make work for those idle hands. You know, it's kind of like, oh, easy to manipulate, easy to exploit. How we deal with our shadow self. The card tells us to cut through lies and see how honest we can be with ourselves. Could be something about shifting the blame, blaming others for something that we're not seeing in ourselves or refusing to see in ourselves. Tell me, please. I'm saying we as well. I've got Cancer North Node, so I need to embrace my Cancerian energy a little bit more. Do we have please for Cancer? Any more information for Cancer? The Night Ride. We're hearing the Knight Rider theme song, you know, like the Knight Rider with the car kit. It's like David Hasselhoff in his black leather jacket. I can hear the song, but I'm not going to be able to get it out. Like, I can't emulate it. Maybe that's something. Maybe there is something about you or your child seeing something in your dreams, but not being able to put it into words, right? It's like knowing something or seeing something, but not being able to explain it. It's like it doesn't exist yet, so there's no words for it. I can just hear the Knight Rider theme song, the Queen Bee. That I feel like that was in Aries or Taurus. It was like somebody who's very connected. So it can talk about your own kind of psychic abilities to connect. There's something about this card. So I'm experiencing this weird thing this week where, like I say, it's only really been since New Year's Eve, maybe a few days before, because on New Year's Eve I played Dungeons and Dragons for the first time. And so sort of all at once, like these things have kind of come together. So I've had this deck that I've been making. It's my own deck, and when I meditate, whatever I see in meditation, if I see something that's like a recurring image that I see in meditation a lot, I kind of make a card about it, because it's like these cards, rather than using other people's decks, you know, I'm using decks that my guides have spoken to me directly about. It's kind of like these things are very personal. Like I know exactly what they're saying when I see these symbols, because I developed them in meditation with my own guides, right? So it's easier for them to communicate the messages because I know the meaning of those things personally. And so I've been using AI to generate images, so I could make my own cards for my own personal use, right? Because I don't have art skills. I have some art skills, but you know, I've tried to make my own decks before and haven't been entirely happy with the results. Where these AI images are so useful to me, to be able to kind of like get the images that I'm seeing in my head through these meditations and get them into something that's tangible form. But the strange thing is to me, so I was doing this with my own deck, but at the same time, because I'd started to get interested in Dungeons and Dragons, I was like, right, well, I can, which is a fantasy role-playing game, kind of like you know, you're a character in this made-up world. So I started to create these different characters in these different places and these different things, and kind of it all became one big thing. But as I was doing this and I was creating these strange characters in these strange places, I started to see them in my reality. So like various ways. So I was talking about it, and then it kind of like popped up and I was like, oh my goodness, that's what I've been talking about. That's what I've been seeing, right? That's what's been held in my imagination and my attention, and now I'm seeing it. It must have been before, maybe a couple of weeks before Christmas as well, perhaps. Yeah, I probably started around then. And then you know, I went to see Aquaman 2, and I didn't know I was going to go and see that movie. It was very much last minute. And then like I'd been creating all these like merfolk and not only that, but like these other places that kind of showed up in that movie. And just time and time again, constantly, and with increasing frequency, the things that I thought I was creating, right? I thought these were things that were coming out of my own imagination, are showing up in my tangible reality. Or, you know, somebody else will start talking about the same thing in a way where it's like, how could you possibly have plucked that vision from my head? Like, how are you talking about the thing I was just thinking about? And so maybe that is a type of manifestation for you. If there's something where it's like you're dreaming about, maybe it's that thing of, you know, when you think about a person and you've not seen them for ages, and you think of them and then they ring you out of the blue, or you know, you think about somebody and then you bump into them in the supermarket, or you dream about somebody and then, you know, the next you get a message on Facebook from them or whatever it is. And it's that kind of thing. It's kind of like, is this happening because I'm dreaming about it? Is this happening because I'm fantasizing? Or, you know, is it coming from me, or am I predicting it? right? It's that sort of thing. It's like, are they tapping into me, or am I tapping into them, or are we all tapped into the same thing? It feels a little bit like that. Interesting, the owls could be something important for you. Like David Bowie, right? Goblin King. He turns into an owl. He bursts through the window. He's a big owl. Don't know. Okay, owl spirit and wisdom, and then these owls on the elephant here. Elephants talk about kind of ancestors for me. So it's kind of like being carried on the back by your ancestors. Call them magic. Wisdom. Like wisdom protects you, right? Wisdom protects you from the people who might exploit you. Let's get you. What spell should you cast? So this is kind of like the Bard Dungeons and Dragons deck. It's not a tarot deck. It's the different spells that you can cast. There's a lot of them, right? There's a lot to learn. I really have took a deep dive into Dungeons and Dragons. So I bought my eldest this for Christmas, because their character's a bard, so I thought it might be easier for them if they had like the spells at the fingertips kind of thing, but then I stole it off them and thought I'm going to use it for tarot readings because it might be interesting. Let's see what we get from this. So this is kind of like, what action should you take, what spell should you cast, like what is spirit telling you to do in whatever this situation is. So what should Cancer do? I don't think they're going to give you one. Oh, there you go. Spoke too soon. So you've got Mordenkainen's, I'm trying to read this here, Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion. A miniature portal carved from ivory, a small piece of polished marble, and a shiny silver spoon. So it feels like scrying. You conjure an extra-dimensional dwelling in range that lasts for the duration. You choose where its one entrance is located. The entrance shimmers faintly and is 5 feet wide and 10 feet tall. You and any creature you designate when you cast the spell can enter the extra-dimensional dwelling as long as the portal remains open. You can open and close the portal if you are within 30 feet of it. So it's like you can make a house out of nothing. That's so funny, because one of the notes that I didn't mention, I'll kind of show it you just so you can see that I'm not... Sorry, ignore my scruffy writing and my scruffy paper today. I can't make something that isn't here. That message came through. I forgot to mention it. It came through with the Six of Pentacles. It's coming through, you know, like that line from King Lear where it's like, nothing will come of nothing. Like, I can't make something come out of thin air. And yet you seem to be making an entire house appear out of thin air. It's like, you know, Wayne's World, if you make it, they will come, or whatever it is. It's like, if you dream it, they will come. The atmosphere is clean, fresh, and warm. Yeah, it feels like manifest stuff. Cancer, maybe you've just got really strong manifestation powers at the moment. Funny fears popping around again. Are you afraid of doing it? Like, what are you afraid of? Maybe it's that kind of thing of where's it coming from, right? It's like, how is this happening? It's kind of like I imagine something, and then it's kind of like this person's offering it to me. But this kid's coming through like the Goblin King, right? She's like, she asks for the Goblin King to come and take Toby away. And he does. And then he's like, you know, I gave you what you wished for, kind of thing. You know, I turned the world upside down and I have done it all for you. But there's manipulation in that, right? It's controlling. It's, what does he say? It's like, oh, what does he say? It's like, and I will be your slave. What does he say? Let me just Google it. And I will be your slave. Just fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave. Because it's like a contradiction, isn't it? Do as I say, and I will be your slave. You know, he is very Mm. It's like, at what cost? I can have whatever my heart desires, but at what cost? Okay. It's like a deal with the devil almost, isn't it? It's like, I promise you riches, I promise you mansions, I promise you a house, but it's like, where's the fine print, right? Where's the small print? What do you want in return? Okay, there's your 5 cards then that did come out. So this is your reading. We finally, an hour into it, I dragged it out a little bit, I have to say. Your reading starts with this 3 of Pentacles. Now, the 3 of Pentacles talks about a collaboration. There should be at least 3 people working on this project or trying to make this thing happen. Now, the 3 of Pentacles talks about, you know, different people coming together to make something happen. So say for example you were making a comic book, you know, you might have wrote the script, you might know what happens in this comic book or this web series, but you might need an illustrator to come and do the art. You might need a publisher to publish the book once you're finished. So it's like different people with different skills making it happen. Normally on the 3 of Pentacles, it looks like people are building something, and you tend to have someone who looks like they're the supervisor, you tend to have someone who looks like maybe they're the architect, and then you have the person who's kind of like actually physically putting the thing together. So again, it's like not everybody has the same set of skills, but each has value in that situation. You kind of need everybody. And yet there seems to be something where, because this is followed by the 2 of Pentacles, right? So it's like we've lost a pentacle. And, you know, with this having 2 people on this card, and this 3 of Pentacles only actually having 1 person on it, and she's kind of like looking out. So it could be a situation where one or 2 people, a few people have left a project, somebody stepped out of a project, or a project that should be a group effort has somehow become fractured and splintered. It could be that, you know, you feel like you're doing all the work while these 2 are off playing and having fun and splashing around, but it does feel a little bit like somebody's stepped away from a project or left a group behind. And then again, maybe feeling a little bit disowned, you know, maybe feeling a little bit abandoned. I did have the sense though, in the meditation, it felt like you'd walked away from a group and you were trying to climb this mountain on your own. It's like you felt like you'd isolated yourself. So take that as it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. You know, that might not be the situation at all for everybody. But I'm just telling you what I got intuitively there. Lightning. The 2 of Pentacles does talk about balancing a situation, as does the 6 of Pentacles. It talks about juggling something, weighing up your options. And then lightning. This is an interesting card. It looks like there's a figure here. It's like a lightning figure. I sort of associate it with the kind of like Starman energy of, like, you know, something that's in your peripheral vision. It's there, but you can't quite see it. It's a flash. Did I really see that? Did I not see that? I am reading it as this kind of Aquarian Starman energy though, because it is followed by the Hangman. Now the Hangman is a card about, I'll just put all the cards in order like this. The Hangman is a card about, it is Aquarian. It talks about seeing something from a different perspective, turning a situation on its head, which I feel like is connected with this card here, where it's kind of like, you know, this round and round, up and down, like there's different perspectives, kind of like the World card, right? Like there's a situation perhaps that keeps turning around and you can see it from different angles, or at least somebody can see it from different angles. Whoever this is can see it from different angles, because it's, sometimes it can be something that slows you down. The Hangman, he's kind of got his foot trapped in something. He's kind of hanging around there. So it can talk about the need to be patient, or, you know, some kind of tie up, or something that's happened in a situation that's kind of slowing things down. But it's because there's something that you're not seeing. You need to look at things from different angles. Like there's something you're missing. And then this comes with wisdom. So, you know, she does look like she's sat there puzzling over something. You know, she's like looking this way, but the information's coming in behind her, right? The owl's coming in behind her. So I feel like there's something where it's like you need to kind of get in, turn around, bright eyes. It's like you have to turn around, or change your direction, or look at things a different way, because you're not quite seeing. There's some wisdom, there's some information that you're not quite seeing. You need to do a wisdom throw, wisdom check. And that's it. Honestly, Cancer, that's the reading. I don't really have much more for you. We can pull a song live on camera. It's 12:03, which is like 1, 2, 3, right? Apart from the 0, 1, 2, 3. So there could be numbers mean something to me. When I see the time, sometimes the arrangement of the numbers can give me a message. So for example, if it's 12:34 and the numbers go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the numbers are all in line, then that tells me that there's progress being made. It's steady progress. It's consistently going in one direction. Sometimes I can kind of see 1, 3, 2, 4, which has this feeling of like a step forward, 2 steps back. And then you still get there, but there's a bit of back and two, right? There's a bit of kind of, oh, I have to retrace my steps a bit and then go forward. So 1203 talks to me about maybe there's this moment, maybe it's this hangman moment where, yes, things are going in the right direction. Yes, there's steady movement. You know, things are moving, but there could be a little hiccup where, you know, it's kind of like there's a block in the road. So it's not that you're not going in the right direction, or it's not that you're you know, slipping backwards. They kind of show me slipping down, you know, trying to climb that mountain and slipping back down. It's not that you're losing ground. It's not that you're uh back at the beginning. It's kind of like getting up that mountain, the wind coming in, and you're having to kind of like dig your heels in, you know, dig your spikes in. I don't know what they're called, those spikes that you use when you're mountain climbing, and kind of hold that position for a minute until the wind's passed over, and then you can carry on climbing. So you're not losing ground in whatever it is that you're making progress in. It's just that you're having a moment where you have to stop and wait and then keep going. So yeah, there could be something that's you know, things can happen. You know, if this is like a work project that you're trying to create movement in, you know, it could be this is as far as we can get until we get, like, you know, this investment comes in and we can keep going, or this is as far as we can get until we get the approval of that person, and then we can keep going. So it's like this, hit a bit of a brick wall, but it's only temporary, I want to say. So let's carry on going. I'm just going to pull up my liked songs and we'll randomize a song for you. What do we have for Cancer, please? You've got Doing Time. It's a cover. It's the Lana Del Rey cover. So it's that. Let me just pull it up. Maybe someone's doing time. Maybe someone's got jail time. You know, like, I can't carry on with that work project. I've got to go to jail for a week. Hopefully not. Doing time. It could be something where you feel like you're doing time though, right? It's kind of like, I want to get on with the fun stuff, but I have to do the boring stuff first. You know, something like that. I don't know. It says, summertime in the living's easy. Bradley's on the microphone with Raz MG. All the people in the dance will agree that we're well qualified to represent the LBC. Me and Louis, we're going to run to the party and dance to the rhythm. It gets harder. Me and my girl, we got this relationship. I love her so bad, but she treats me like poop. On lockdown, like a penitentiary. She spends her loving all over, and when she gets home, there's none left for me. Oh, take this veil from off my eyes. My burning sun will someday rise. So what am I going to be doing for a while? I said I'm going to play with myself. Show them now we've come off the shelf. Evil, I've come to tell you that she's evil. Most definitely. I don't know. I don't think people are evil. I think people are just... I think things are more complicated. I think human experience is much more complicated than the simplicity of good and evil, right? This is not a Disney movie where there's a good guy and a bad guy, right? A hero and a villain. Humans are much more complex, like the human brain, you know, the experiences we have. I think there's a lot of gray areas, and yes, some people can lean more towards bad natured A lot of the time, I think there's reasons for it, or experiences that they've not had to teach them things like empathy. Um, Again, lots of different situations are going to be different every single time for every single person. Evil is a very, very oversimplified term, I think. And you know what? The best characters in movies and things like that are complex characters. You know, again, I used Snape as an example from one of the readings the other day. You know, some people may think of him as evil, but he's actually an incredibly complicated um, kind of anti-hero. Complicated protagonists are much more interesting than, do-gooders. I was having this conversation in work actually yesterday. We were talking about me and one of the lads. We don't like Superman because Superman's too good, right? He's too all-American superhero. He's overpowered. He's boring, right? He's boring as a protagonist. Where someone like Batman, who's got much more of a complex psyche, and he toes the line between good and bad, right and wrong. Where the line is for Batman kind of shifts around a lot. He's much, much, much more of an interesting character in my personal opinion. Yeah, I don't know. Make of that what you will. You can't spell devil without evil. I'm gonna go. I hope that was helpful to you. Please take care of yourselves. Don't be making any deals with any shady characters. And give things some time. Do the time. And spend that time trying to look at things from a different, whatever that means for you, and spend that time looking at things from a different perspective. Rethink things. Go back and look at things again. And try and see them from different perspectives, different angles, different points of view, because there is some wisdom in that for you, whatever that means to you, right? I don't know anyone's personal situation. I'm reading tarot cards and getting intuitive messages. I hope this was helpful to you. Please do take care of yourselves. I will see you again soon. Bye.